All right, so we're going to open up the Q&A. I'm going to bounce back over here to the showdown. It looks like that audio pop was a one-time event. Thank goodness, guys, right? We couldn't have another one of last week on our hands. I'm going to be ready for questions. Melissa, are you out there with me?
I am.
Okay, good stuff. So Melissa's going to run through the questions. Just so you guys know, I want to give you guys some updates because this has been a bumpy start with our technical difficulties. So the things that we're going to be doing on Thursday is going to be our open Q&A. Today's Q&A is just focused on keyword research, right? So you want to make sure that you're bringing your questions in today. We're only going to address the ones that are focused specifically on today's content, specifically on the strategies I've taught here today, just to keep them on point. We're going to answer one question per person today just to make sure that everybody gets their question answered and we're super efficient. And then on Thursday, we'll do an open Q&A that's a little more meandering and we'll go with any good question that is submitted. So if you have an open question though, I would love for you to do me a huge favor. It's not, even if it's not related to this, I'd like for you to wait until we're about halfway through the Q&A or whenever you need to leave and then submit your question for Thursday. If it's a question not related to keyword research, we'd love to get that queued up now so that we can really be prepared for Thursday's class and make sure that we have everything organized and ready to go. But in terms of what we'll be answering today, keyword research only. And Melissa, why don't you go in with the first question?
Yeah, so the first question that I thought was really interesting that was submitted during the class, do apostrophes or punctuation in a keyword make a difference? For example, men's with just the S on the end versus men's, the possessive with the apostrophe before the S. Is that making a difference within Amazon's algorithm?
You're going to find that absolutely you're going to get some traffic on both those, but I guarantee you if you do like a broad search match and you put it for like men's jeans without the apostrophe, it's broad. So Amazon's definitely going to match it with the apostrophe. And most of the time, even an exact match will have some variation in it. I mean, in terms of like that kind of, misspelling or punctuation, you can use different punctuation like the apostrophe, but once again, you're getting super granular there in terms of like precision versus how the shopper buys. On Amazon, this is not a precision game. On Amazon, it's about getting in front of the shopper when they make a buying decision because they buy very quickly and a lot of it. So a little too precise there. If you see an apostrophe in your search term report later, feel free to add it as an exact match. It's certainly going to get you a few sales here and there, but it's not going to make a big enough impact as much as looking at synonyms and looking at the bigger market.
Great. Thank you so much. So the next question, are the search volumes, and this question is in relation to the screenshots that you were sharing from Helium 10 from the research, so it's specific to the research for today. Are the search volumes on the short tail, mid tail, and long tail found in the broad search volume column? Is that the column that you're using for the search volumes?
Yes, absolutely. Again, I'm really just trying to do as much as I can to discover how my shopper searches. I am not confident, even with 15 years ad experience. There's no way I'm going to get inside someone's mind, and a huge percentage of queries are new every single day. So I never assume on any product that I know how the buyer buys. So yes, I'm definitely going to go on broad search volume. I'm going to try to scoop up as much traffic as I can, at least targeting it though, right? I'm not just going broad like, hey, let's see what happens in jeans. I'm going to go into, women's and skinny, the things that describe my product specifically and are in my listing and in my title. But I am going to go fairly broad on those. I'm going to look at the broad volume and try to break it down from there. And I really only look at it exact when I'm looking to set an exact as a match type. If a keyword has good exact demand and it's a really good keyword, it's very relevant to what I sell, I'm going to put it in as exact as well. But yes, in that diagram, it was just broad.
Okay, perfect. Next question, it's a combination of two questions. We had two people ask this, but it's a combination of two questions. What do you consider to be high search volume, and what's the minimum search volume you would target for?
Oh, yeah, it just changes. Some products, like last week we looked at beard oil, that has really low search volume. And not a lot of modifiers. So it really depends on what you're searching. Every product's different. Keyword demand is actually market demand. If you took any like high school economics, keywords are identical to supply and demand in high school economics. Essentially, it's implied demand. Every keyword shows how much the market wants something and what type of things they want and how often they search for it, right? So it is absolutely clearly defined demand there. So it's going to be different. More people buy jeans than say, buy, an eyelash curler. right? So it kind of depends on what they're doing. It has every single category is going to be completely unique. Some of the keywords are going to be much broader, get tons of volume. What you do want to do there, though, to answer your question, again, you're getting kind of precise there in the data, and that's really good. You want to just avoid the overlap. So pick the ones that have the highest volume and don't overlap with ones that have lower volume. That's kind of the mid-tail. But what you do want to do is understand the scale of your own product and your own search volume. So you definitely want to be looking, like, again, I have jeans for women. So I'm going to look at the search volume range from about 500,000 all the way down to 30,000 is what those numbers looked right. We looked at those numbers on a broad match. We went from 500K a month to 30,000 a month. So that's the range I would be kind of gauging within. And then there'll be a sharp drop. I think I went from 500,000 to 170K, but those are huge numbers and very interesting, right? So you kind of need to know the range on your specific product. And the range is going to be pulling in the keyword tool like Helium 10 and looking from the top to the bottom of the funnel. Again, keeping stuff out like jeans, you need a good modifier in there. Once you get your modifier set and you want to look at the volume on that modifier from front to back, where's the highest search, where's the lowest search, and that is going to be your range. And then from there, you just kind of gauge it. Like, where's high for your product? Where's low for your product? It's really going to vary every product, every variation.
Awesome. And then another class-specific question here. Why was women's denim included as a mid-tail keyword, even though it had a lower search volume than some keywords in the long tail group?
Because denim is a new synonym. So it gives me room. Remember when I showed you the qualifier, we look at volume, and then we look at relevance, which means it needs to be, really describe my product, which denim does. And then the last thing we looked at was expansion. So in that sense, it's going to let me go somewhere besides jeans. It's a synonym for the word jeans, which is a whole nother category, right? So if I'm selling on jeans and I'm selling on denim, that gets interesting, right? I can double down. It's really because it's a synonym. It's highly relevant. It's expandable. I only see one keyword in the whole list using denim, and I don't think that only one lady is going to use denim on that one search. So I want to see what comes out of denim. It's a great search. So for that one, I'm looking at the expansion. That's how the criteria, how it got in the mid-tail.
Great. Okay, the next question is, are you finding that Amazon is using different targets for plurals these days, where searching for skinny jean versus skinny jeans is being treated differently in Exact Match?
That's interesting. Again, every product's going to be different. I tend to kind of, because I use broad keywords and I use them ongoing, even in my scale groups, because I use a lot of broad, I don't really worry about that, because in the end, Amazon's really good at delivering up both match types in your search term reports. I do tend to pick always the modifier that has more volume, because that's one of my criteria for selection. So say I have skinny jeans and it has, 130,000 searches, and the word skinny jean has 25,000 searches. I don't put both in there. I just put skinny jeans. I want the big search volume. I want to show up on all the searches. So from there, I'm going to trust the algorithm is going to deliver up all the single variations, and it usually does a really nice job of that. I've never missed my mark. So on that one, I picked the higher volume variation. You can put both in as Exact Match. Just be cautious, because they could compete against each other, and your single could compete against your plural, and you could cannibalize some of your impressions and some of your clicks. So for me, I like to pick the high volume one, but you have to work with your own data, and you have to pull it out of your search term reports. I advise, if you're running broad match and you pull your search term report, and at the 30-day report, you see plenty of good keyword plural singular versions in the search terms, not the keyword column, but in the search terms. If you're seeing that your keywords are showing up as both single and plural, just bid on the one variation. It's doing a good job.
Awesome. Can you explain a little bit about how this keyword research works in conjunction with the research from last week, or kind of how it builds upon what we went over on Thursday, and then today, how they're progressing through it?
That's a great question. And I want to give a quick update there, because I want to make sure that everyone who's still here understands where we're at. And I definitely, I apologize. It was such a bumpy start last week. Without question, we've resolved our technical issues, but it took days and days to get this stream to the quality that you're seeing here today. So we are behind on a few of our printed materials, our guides and our Q&A transcripts. We're working really hard as a team to get those ready, but we've been pretty much inundated with technical issues for a full 7 to 10 days, and it's been exhausting, but we just have this resolved or we wouldn't be here today together. So we're clear on technical. Boy, are we clear. We just crossed every T and dotted every I yesterday and every other day going back to last Thursday. We started on it Thursday as soon as we closed down that session. So, and we were doing it for 6 weeks ahead of time. We just had some big technical issues and issues, just so you know, outside of the building. So this was not inside with my internet connection. There was actually a node on the pole in the community that was causing a signal issue, and it was dropping my signal, as you heard in my audio last week. And it was dropping my signal randomly, and they weren't doing anything about it. And we were kind of working through it. We were seeing some of these kind of things in the stream, but then luckily other businesses in our neighborhood got impacted last week, so they changed out the whole node. And so we went ahead and changed everything from our speed to our Ethernet, and they also, but more important than any of that, they had to replace our connection. So that's done, and we're out of the technical weeds. So here we are together. It's going to be like this every week moving forward. So I do apologize for last week's bumpy start. We have a lot of guides that we're bringing together for you guys. We have 2 Q&A files. We have 2 guides, one on competitive research and then one on keyword research. This all leads into the answer to this question. And I'm going to re-record over the next 2 weeks. It's going to take some time, but I'm going to re-record that competitive session because I feel like it was a little bumpy with all of our technical issues, and I really couldn't focus on content because I was very flustered by the stream. So that's going to all be repaired. So when we talk about what we did get out of last week, for those of us that could salvage scraps from the from that choppy stream and my frantic pace, what we did get out of the competitive analysis is we really got that we had to start with our competitors. Once again, it's really how you build on that is what we just talked about in this week, is that you don't really know who your shopper is until you start to research what they do, what they're already buying, what's already ranking, because Amazon only likes stuff that sells, right? So getting into the competitors first, even before keywords, is such a great indicator of what your market is doing. So some of those primary seeds like jeans or women's, you should be finding in your competitors, keyword lists. You can do the reverse ASIN search over there in Helium 10. You're going to need to pull all 10 of those competitors down, the ones that have good rank, good rank organically, good paid ads, ones that have good bestseller rank, competitors with great sales velocity. When you have that data, you need to target those ASINs on their product pages, and you need to do a good keyword pull out of the reverse ASIN search to get those. So when you start to put together your keywords, you really couldn't do it without your competitors' keywords, or you wouldn't be on the product pages. So that's how these really tie together. So for me, competitors is my first step so that I can understand how a shopper shops and what they already like and what the algorithm already likes, and I want to take and really hone it down to my top 10 competitors so that I have an idea of what they're doing. I've pulled those competitors through an ASIN tool to see exactly what keywords they're working through, what keywords are successful for them, and then I'm going to take those keywords and build them into my own list using the strategies for today. And then secondary, I'm going to go ahead and take each brand through that reverse ASIN search and build a custom list. So those are how the 2 things tie together: your competitive ad groups, and then all your competitive research is your foundation to determine where those starting seeds are at that are already successful for both ranking and sales.
Awesome. And I just want to say real quick, what we're doing right now is Q&A with some keyword research questions. If your guys are wanting to ask questions about bid and budget and all of that, you can certainly submit them, but today's Q&A is really focusing on that keyword research. So I just wanted to make that clear before I ask the next question, because we don't really want to get lost in how to bid and budgets yet, because we're not quite there, right, Sheree?
Yeah, exactly. We're not there yet, Melissa, but I love that they're giving them to you. Please, guys, go ahead and submit them. Melissa's just going to filter them, because I think, Melissa, it's going to give us a great head start on Thursday to not get kind of hit over the head with a hammer with a bunch of questions that we don't have structured or organized to make sure the Q&A is efficient.
Agreed. And so I just want to say that before I ask this question, because I do say the word budget and I didn't want any red flags to go up. But we have somebody ask, I've been testing 5 keywords that have been eating my budget in less than 2 hours. Has my keyword research been too broad? What am I doing wrong? Should I be more specific with my keywords? So really, what can she change within that keyword research to make those keywords more effective?
Well, Melissa, this is your game on the agency side since you are our keyword research queen. But yes, I'm going to say that you need to go further into your modifiers, right? You need to go further into your modifiers. So yeah, you're going too broad. If your budget may be too low, but if it is the budget you need to work with, I would say if you're blowing through budget early in the day, definitely too general, definitely not something that you can really get traction with. I would go ahead into your second tier. When we're breaking these down here with our accounts, a lot of the times in our meetings, I will say, okay, let's look at tier 1, let's look at tier 2, let's look at tier 3. I do that almost always, so it's kind of an instinctive thing. But what we'll do with that is say, okay, tier 1 are our proven keywords that are very specific to our product and our listing and our unique selling position. And then I'll say, but I really want these tier 2 keywords. Let's hold on them, right? So for example, like I mentioned earlier, I would go deeper into my modifiers and I'd be focused on skinny jeans. And I'd have a tier 2 queued up for women's jeans. As soon as I got skinny working on my behalf and I had some profits and some sales and some data, I'd start to kind of dip my toe in the water of just the women's searches, probably starting on the lower volume ones. 2 things you can do there to help with your product research and your keyword research is look for better modifiers. Get on your main seed. So for me, it was jeans. And start pouring through those keywords, sort them by broad match so that you can start to see where the volume is, where the demand is. It is supply and demand in search. So start to kind of look for the broad match. Then you can also search by exact match, and that can help you a lot too. If you're on a really tight budget, go ahead and search exact match on your main seed like jeans, high to low, and see what is exactly being searched, and then see what's being searched broadly. Try to overlap those, but more importantly, look for that second tier modifier that takes you not into jeans, not into women, but into skinny, right? So look for that modifier that's a shop keyword, really describes features and benefits. That's another nice filter for you. If you know your keyword's too general, if there's no feature or benefit or problem or solution attached. So if they're not really saying specifically feature, benefit, problem, solution, that's probably a little too early in the funnel for you to be tackling with a lower budget. You definitely want to stay in that mid tail, and you want to stay on the shoppers searches that are going to convert for you, and those are going to specify a feature or benefit. That's a good filter there that you can use. And then of course, looking at your search term reports and any existing data you have from the campaigns you're running, because here's where the gold is. If you're running them in manual campaigns and you've put in some broad and phrase, cross my fingers, I hope you have, you should have a search term report that shows you some good search terms, long tail, that you've paid for with those keywords that are blowing through your budget. But I would reverse. I would reset your campaign so that your budget can be maximized. You shouldn't be running out of money. You should be able to pick the right keywords, that your budget should not run out of money. You should have profitable keywords that convert to sales, and they should do it consistently. That's how you scale. So you should be able to uncap that budget on the keywords that are really defining your product and kind of open that up a bit. And so if that's not happening, if you literally can't uncap because it's just too high volume of a search, probably slowing you down there.
Awesome. And then just a general question, can you explain the difference again between a mid and long tail keyword? Just to clarify what that is. We've had a couple people ask that question.
That's super good. It's a really good question. And with that, I can actually maybe kind of pull up, let's go ahead and pull up a visual. Well, it's not going to be the right visual here, so I'll just go ahead and explain. So mid and long tail. Now, mid and long tail have different definitions. So, I mean, they don't have, they're different keyword, kind of segments, but there's a few different ways to use those kind of segments. So let me start at the beginning. So if you are doing keyword research on a new product, right? Not a new product, but something you haven't advertised extensively. You don't have a ton of sales data in advertising. This is something that you're really testing, right? At this point, when you're doing something like that, you really want to be thinking about your mid-tail. You want to be thinking of your mid-tail as keywords that are modified, that describe exactly what you sell. And then you want to think of your long tail as the keywords you're going to pull out of your search term report that are more granular, a little bit longer and more targeted. Now, when you're looking at a keyword report, in my opinion, the long tail in a keyword report in the research phase is fairly inadequate. I don't really find enough long tail that I want to bet on it. I kind of like to bet in the mid tail. So if we go there, one of the things I was mentioning was, so you have jeans for women. That's like your really good mid tail, right? It's not just jeans. It's got the modifier women, so it's in the middle, right? You're in the middle. When I say mid tail, I'm talking about, first of all, when I talk about tail, I'm talking about the tail in terms of how the shopper is buying. I'm not talking about it in technical terms, and I'm certainly not trying to get too granular. I'm simply saying that in the shopper's mind, because that's all I think about is how they're buying, right? So in the shopper's mind, I'm saying, okay, when they're browsing, it's really short. Like, where's the short tail? Where's the short browse at? Where are they kind of short on attention, short on time? Where are they just going in short tail and kind of looking around? Where's the general at? That's going to be your short tail. Then if I look at the mid tail, I'm like, okay, where are they at? They're in the middle of the buying cycle, right? They're in the middle of the buying cycle, and there's going to be some overlap, like I showed you. Like if you're going like keywords for women, if you've never tested, like jeans for women as a keyword, if you've never tested jeans for women and it's brand new to you, you don't need to go and put like woman jeans, women's plural, jeans singular. At that point, you're getting long tail in the sense that, wow, not a lot of people are even really searching for those. And if they do, you can scoop those up later after you have some data. But in the beginning, we know a lot of people are going after, jeans for women. Let's start there. And then if that's too high search volume, you go to the next layer, which is, a different kind of layer of women's jeans. So really, if you're at the beginning phases, the long tail is defined as just don't pick too many keywords that overlap, kind of start in the middle where all your shoppers are kind of in the middle of their buying decision. Now, long tail next is when you get into search term reports. You have a keyword that you've bid on that's mid tail, and now your long tail is going to be revealed in the search term column. So at that point, the long tail is very interesting because now I'm not guessing. I have 2+ sales on that. If I'm going to put it into my campaigns, it's not a keyword tool. So all I'm basically saying is I do a lot of mid tail in the keyword tools, and then I let my search term reports show me the long tail. And long tail is just anything that is defined as even more specific, closer to the buying cycle, probably the final step, the final step in your shopper's path to purchase in their mind.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Another question that we're getting a lot is kind of a repeat question. What is a good rule of thumb for the number of keywords that you should, in general, put in a campaign or have as broad, phrase, or exact match? Can you elaborate on how many keywords you would put in an ad group or a campaign? I know we do a lot with single keyword ad groups, so that's a little bit different. But when they're doing the keyword research, how many should they be finding? What's a good number or good goal for them to reach for?
Yeah, it's a really good question. But once again, it's hard to get that granular because every product is different and there's so many keyword variations that are going to apply to your product. And then I don't know how much sales data you have to start with. But if you're just starting out, I would say that you could be starting, if you're really going to go like, for example, if I'm going after, skinny jeans, because that was a more segmented search and not a lot of volume, right? I think it was in like the 50 to 15,000 searches a month, 15,000 to 50. Skinny jeans is a little lower volume, so I'm probably going to get quite a few out of the keyword tool that relate, skinny jeans for women, skinny jeans, jean skinny. I'm probably going to test a lot of variations there because there's not a lot of volume and I need to kind of beef that up. So now if I'm over here on jeans for women, probably going to do that quite a bit differently, right? I think on that one, I'm going to be thinking there's a lot more search volume there. So on that, I'm only going to pick a few main seeds. So I think if we were to look at this, let me try to move forward without, it may take us a minute to catch up because there's a bit of a delay. So I'm going to just go ahead. It seems like we're getting a lot of questions on this. So I'm going to kind of stay here on this slide and let this one kind of load back up. And I think more importantly, I think our best slide to sit on for this conversation, once again, we never want to lose sight of how your shopper buys. That's all we care about. So, so if we're kind of coming in here, I mean, these would be sort of like the keywords that I had looked at that I was looking at in this list. This would be the ones I would have picked out of all the keywords in Helium 10 for my skinny jeans. I would be bidding on these keywords right here. This would be my list. I would be coming after jeans for women, skinny jeans, jeans women, jeans skinny, skinny jeans women. You can see I'm using a lot more skinny in here because I need a lot more keywords to get the kind of volume I want. And then I'm really coming in after the big ones like jeans for women and jeans women to see what I can get on that, kind of the broader high volume searches. 'Cause there's a lot more traffic on those. So for me, I think it's more about picking everything that you can that is very specific, like the word skinny here, that actually describes your product, and then trying to go a little bit up into the path to purchase where they're also a little bit broader, looking at women. So on that, you want to get the most important thing that you want to be thinking about. And let me go ahead again. I'm going to pause on a keyword when on a slide when I get there. I think for next week, I can go ahead and put some of these implementation slides in a deck so that we can review them during Q&A. I just didn't have that this week, but I think I'll do that for next week. So here we go again, like browse, shop, buy. So within this group, I'm really going to be thinking more about making sure I have blanketed the entire path to purchase. It's not really how many keywords I have as much as am I really going to be there at all points in the purchase cycle. And if I'm running into a budget issue, I'm going to totally forgo my browse, but I'm always going to start in shop. So if you have a budget issue, start with shop and then start to use buy based off of your search terms, right? They have bought. It's a long tail search term out of your search term report. You got buy data on that. So you know that they're ready to buy and you know that they have bought. So for me, I'm going to start in the shop. I'm going to start with skinny jeans and I'm going to get several variations of that like I showed you in the previous slide, and I'm going to put those together and I'm going to let my long tail kind of build out of my buy group from my search term report. So it really just depends on where you're at with your budget and your goals, but no matter what you do, start in the shop. You got to always have your shop keywords and you have to have them really dialed in, and you can also add a few different variations of those to really make sure that you're spreading across the market. I definitely wouldn't suggest going into your browse and your bigger categories like this 500,000 searches a month on jeans for women if you're on a budget or in any capacity don't have a lot of sales data yet for the product with advertising.
Okay, awesome. Okay, and then just kind of a general question. Can you just give a quick explanation of the difference between broad and phrase match? I have a couple people asking that there's some confusion of how those are handled.
Yeah, for sure. So if I were to say here on skinny jeans, right, and I were to talk about it as a broad match, it'd be saying to Amazon, hey, I want any search for skinny jeans, which means Amazon's going to show me for skinny jeans for women. It's going to show me for black skinny jeans. It's going to show me for ripped skinny jeans. It's just going to show me for anything related to skinny jeans. Anything that it thinks is actually going to be relevant in terms of a broad match. When I say phrase match, I say I only want the keywords that contain the two words skinny jeans in that order. You can't just match up. You can't say, so if you were to do broad match, I would get searches for jeans skinny. The words flipped, right? Jeans, skinny. I would get all sorts of broad match searches for that because it's just broad. Anything related to skinny jeans. It doesn't matter what the word order is. It doesn't matter what the sequence is. If it relates to that topic, then Amazon's going to show my ad. Now, skinny is targeted enough that I'm confident that broad will be fine. Now, when it comes to phrase match, you get a little more powerful, and that allows you to sort of say, okay, the words skinny and jeans need to be in sequence. They cannot be moved. So I only want any keyword that either has different words in front or behind to get skinny jeans. So, at that point you could do skinny jeans for women would show up on a phrase match. Black skinny jeans, as long as those two words are going to be back to back in that sequence, any words in front or behind would come in on a phrase match. Now, the weird thing is that once again, we're not crystal ball like mind readers. So we don't really know how our shoppers shop and we don't really know exactly what they're doing here. So I have found testing broad and phrases really good. And you're going to find that one may work very, very well for your product and mine a ton of queries, a ton of search terms. And the other one may be high ACoS and it's just competitive or strange or not working for you. So, most of the time, both broad and phrase aren't going to work perfectly. One will work better than the other. Sometimes you hit gold and they both work, right? But I definitely test both because I do like the kind of control that I get with phrase, and then I like the broad because it brings a lot more search volume up. And again, it's not so much me getting the search volume as me getting visibility no matter how my shopper uses the keywords. Like I don't want to rule out, I don't want to say to Amazon, oh, I know exactly how my shopper goes in on exact match and they just say skinny jeans. And then I'm going to miss all the other ways they search because it's not true. I really don't know what they're putting in. So I'm so confident in the word skinny that I'm just saying to Amazon, I want to show up on every search. Every search related to this product, I really want to show up. And then you are going to filter that down. Sometimes broad, sometimes phrase. I test both. Usually only one match type really is good on the ACoS side. But if you do separate them into their own ad groups, you can get traffic on both. And sometimes you hit a gold mine and both will work.
Awesome. 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 You're so great at answering all these questions in detail, Sheree. I just really enjoy listening to you.
Well, thanks, Melissa.
You're welcome.
You're probably giving me a tip like, hey, on the agency side, could you do more of this?
Yeah, something like that. So a question I have for you about keywords, and this is not jeans related, so this is related to a different topic that I think maybe a couple of our students are probably going to maybe run into a little bit. How do you handle two main keywords that are treated as synonyms in our society, even though in theory they're not? For example, the example that they're using is table tennis versus ping pong. So they're synonyms, but they are different.
Okay, here's what I want to know. So I guess you'll have to maybe, I don't know how we'll get feedback from you on this one, but I'm just going to have to kind of go here and hope I hit this right. The first thing would be, well, if they buy, I don't really care. Melissa, read that one more time because I want to see if I have the information I need. Go one more time on that.
Yes. How do you handle two main keywords that are treated as synonyms in our society, even though in theory they are not? So the example is table tennis versus ping pong.
Okay, so I don't really care. I mean, in terms of that, like precision is not important when it comes to Amazon. Now, in Google search, precision is the game, but it's not over here. So if they buy on table, if they don't know the difference and they're willing to check out and put my product in their cart, I could care less which one they buy on. But if you're trying to say, oh, I don't know yet, so I think this is a synonym, or, okay, there's two ways this could be going for you. The first way is you want to test it as a synonym, right? Like I want to test denim up against jeans, and I feel good on that bet, really good on that bet. So you're trying to say, okay, should you be testing table tennis on your ping pong product or vice versa? Now, if you don't have any data, that's tricky. You got to test incrementally, right? You want to put it into a shop group. It's a shop ad group without question. It's a shop play. It's a feature and benefit thing. You're going to see what happens, right? So if you don't have any data, you got to test that if you have an instinct that maybe that synonym will convert for you. Now, if you're on the other side of the fence and you're seeing data in your search term reports, or you're going to the Amazon organic search results and you're seeing that this table tennis ping pong overlap is happening, then you just got to bank on both. You know what I mean? Then you just hit a little extra gold there, right? It's not a big deal how they search for it if they put it in their cart and it works with your profit margins and your ACoS goals. So if you have data and it doesn't make sense, it doesn't matter if they both buy. If you don't have data, you want to test very incrementally, because I'm kind of with you on the front that if they really aren't synonyms, then they're just not, kind of like pants and jeans. They're not really synonyms. If it is a true synonym, you got to test it, like denim. If it's not and it's fuzzy, you got to test incrementally because it could be bad. But I don't know how much data you have so far on that one. I don't know if this is something that you've already got data on and you're wondering why it's happening, or if it's something you want to test. So those would be my bits of advice there, is to test both and see what happens. And again, don't be focused on precision. If your shoppers buy things that aren't related and there's no rhyme or reason to it, but the numbers look good, it's not anything to worry about. I would just keep scaling whatever works.
Okay, awesome. And we're getting a lot of questions for Thursday right now. So a lot of these questions will be addressed Q&A on Thursday,
Perfect.
which is awesome. They're just not specifically keyword research related. So this, as of right now, will probably be the last question keyword research related that I've got for this, unless we get a couple more submitted.
Okay, great.
Yeah, but this question, okay, so talking about the browse, shop, and buy categories, within those categories, do you have broad, phrase, and exact groups within each of them, or how are you kind of segmenting the match types versus the categories that we have these keywords in?
That's great. Okay, so if I'm doing this, of course, everything's getting their own ad groups. I use ad groups to group all the data. And again, I'm thinking about my ad groups. If you notice what we've talked about in this whole grouping session, I'm not thinking about my ad groups as keyword buckets, right? Like I'm not just simply saying, hey, I got some keywords and they're all related to skinny. Let's put them in an ad group. That's just a keyword bucket, and ad groups are ad groups. They're not keyword groups, right? So you don't want to be thinking about your ad groups in a sense of like just a place to bucket keywords. You want to be thinking about them how shoppers buy, right? Like how, because the thing with ad groups is you got to start leveraging bids and budgets. That's how you power it, right? Kind of like fuel you would put in a car. So like without fuel, the car is not going anywhere, right? But you've got to fuel it. So your bid and your budget and your strategy in that bid and budget, which we cover a ton in Act 2, is going to define how much traction you get out of those keywords. So ad groups are more bucketed based on their potential to convert to sales, and also to be sure that you're getting inside the conversation in the shopper's mind, and less precision based in terms of keyword granularity. So I would say that's one of the biggest mistakes that people make with advertising, is they are often thinking too much of keyword bucketing and not enough of advertising, right? Ads to people to buy stuff, right? So when we start talking about that, let's look at these segments right here and get them into some match types. So if I have these segments, I am going to take jeans for women, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put jeans for women and jeans women in one ad group. Now, I know that everyone there that's, precision based or analytical is going to say, but wait, it's only one keyword and the top seeds per ad group. That is true, but really jeans for women has just got one additional word in it that makes it really good for exact match. But jeans women is really the same keyword, but I can set it to different match types and get different action out of those, but they're kind of the same search. So I'm going to go ahead and separate, just starting out, jeans for women into their own ad group. I'm going to test that one as broad, phrase, and exact, right? So separate ad groups, broad, phrase, and exact. And without question, because that one is so specific with the word for in it, it's got to go in as exact match. So those would be separate ad groups, because that is my primary modifier. That's my primary seed. I've got to get the most traction possible out of that one. When I go over here into skinny jeans, that one is also going to be in its own ad group. It's my main modifier in the shop phase. It's absolutely my first feature and benefit. It's the one everyone searches on. We saw the data. I'm going to have skinny jeans broad, skinny jeans phrase, and then also on that one, I'm going to go ahead and have skinny jeans exact. So now normally with my single ad groups, and again, we need to get into campaign structure. We need to be in session, in sessions like 5, 6, and 7 to really be talking about this, because we don't have visuals. We're not that far ahead in this little journey yet. So when it comes to segmenting into the final ad groups, we really need more visuals. But if I am looking at skinny jeans, I'm going to do broad and phrase in their own groups. And then from there, my shop category will have a lot more exact match. So I'm going to kind of leave things down in the exact matches in my browse in my shop, and then I'm going to take the singles up as broad and phrase, and that's a tricky one without a visual, but you guys are asking about it because you might want to take this step and start to segment them out. So for this, you have your browse, your shop, and your buy. Now if you don't want to run any single keywords yet, right, you just want to go ahead and tackle it, these would go exactly as they're listed here. I'd have jeans for women and jeans women, women's jeans, all in the browse group. They'd all be testing over there, and I would definitely be using the match types I've already outlined, broad, phrase, and exact. In my shop group, I would have just skinny jeans, right? I cannot overlap. So just so you know, I would never in a single group overlap ripped with black, with boyfriend, with high waist. Those are defined modifiers that would have their own ad group and their own product, right? We talked about that. This is a high search volume category. So skinny jeans is going to go into, is going to be my only one in shop and variations of skinny. Now, my buy keywords for me are going to be the ones I pull out of my search term report, right? I don't normally I don't normally test the buy keywords on their own out of a keyword tool, but if I did, it would be keywords like skinny jeans for women. And I would be testing this skinny jeans for women as both broad and exact. But because it's kind of long, like skinny jeans for women, there's no need to test that as a phrase. I don't think people are putting words aggressively in front or behind it. My phrase match would be reserved for skinny jeans. So again, we definitely need some visuals on that because you're up into campaign build, which is totally different than research, but that's how I would do those.
Awesome. Yeah, a lot of the questions we're getting are about how to build ad groups, how to build campaigns. That's a lot of the questions that we're getting. So we're not going to necessarily address those today because we are going to address those at a different time, right?
Yeah, we are. And in fact, a lot of those we're going to have to wait till the class opens up, right? I mean, it takes a lot of time to explain how to build a campaign and how to section out the ad groups and keywords. And we definitely need a download for that. And you need a visual. And it's not something we can answer on a Q&A. We can give you a little bit of insight into it, into our strategy. But a real breakdown is why you've taken 12 weeks of training, because each week requires a full class to get it in detail.
Mm-hmm. So that's essentially all the questions that I'm getting now are how to set up these keywords after the research. But okay. I think it's really important to, tell them, take the time, put in the effort, do good research, pick winning keywords. I mean, that's really that's really where you're going to find your success, right?
It's so true. I mean, we find it every day at the agency. It's 100% it. We spend tons of time in the research phase, tons of time. So again, before we even start thinking about where these keywords are going to go and how we're going to get them into traffic, we spend a lot of time looking at them. We look at our competitors' pages. We pull ASIN reports on our competitors, kind of the stuff we showed you last week. We come in and we go through the keyword tools and we filter and we download, and we start to kind of really build a good keyword list. And then we start to kind of group them by how we think, you know, the buyer is shopping. So again, you want to be thinking a lot about your match types. You know, and again, sometimes when you asked a good question here, Melissa, about setting the match types, a lot of the times I'm going to let the tool dictate what match type I use. If the tool shows me a keyword with a lot of broad match, I'm going to set it to broad and phrase to see what I get. If it shows me a keyword with a lot of exact match, I'm going to test that as exact match, right? So really the keyword tool like Helium 10, as you know, is going to show you what kind of match types to use. You just need to use the data wisely, and where you see a lot of exact match demand, make sure you're using that. And where you see a lot of, you know, high demand that's kind of broad, you want to be sure that you're using it that way. So you can really leverage the data from the keyword tool to kind of spell out your match types. Just be sure that you're looking at those numbers, sort by broad, sort by exact, and then start to set your match types that way.
Awesome. That's all the questions we've got submitted as far as keyword research goes. I know a lot of them are going to be addressed at a later time.
Yeah. Okay. So great. That was such an awesome session.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. So guys, you'll be getting this week. Luckily it's Tuesday. We got a good week ahead of us. So you'll be getting some good Q&A transcripts this week. And then you'll also be getting some guides and downloads, and some different things that really go with these sessions that we're just kind of a little backed up on due to our technical, kind of efforts that have taken all of our time. But now we're off to the races, and we'll be sure to get you guys some printed material, because in no way would I expect you to think that you're going to take all of this from a single class and go master something, you know, like sponsored products. That's why we have 12 weeks together. Try to think about progress, not perfection. Try to think about it as a learning curve. Use as much data as you can to understand your shoppers, and then we will see you next week. Until next time.